Alrighty, so I'm here with Tim Garner. He is our Chief Marketing and Communications Officer here at Jacksonville State University. And we're going to talk a little bit about his very lengthy career in marketing and, what experience he's had with sports marketing, in his prior to JSU and here at JSU. So I'll go ahead and just get it on over to you, Tim. So tell me a little bit about your history and how you got into marketing and just anything you'd like to share with everything
Sure,
you've
I'll
done.
try to stay succinct in the whole thing. I grew up in Alabama, country boy from Forney, Alabama, population about 60 or 70, and came to Jacksonville State in 1964 as a freshman, 17-year-old freshman. Graduated here in January '69, entered the United States Air Force as a second lieutenant, served 21 years of active duty and combined time with also uh, active duty, but then had reserve time in Georgia Air National Guard and reserves and trained air traffic controllers. I was a air traffic controller. We shot down the enemy rather than regenerating it like you see on Xbox and those sort of things. And so anyway, I'll give you a little background here just to kind of pull it together to what Eric's subject is over the period of time majoring in business at Jacksonville State and then in the Air Force gaining two master's degrees, one being an MBA with a concentration in integrated marketing, which is what we all talk about when we talk about marketing. Of course, the end result here is sport marketing and how that comes about and how it came about over time. Um, my clients, was fortunate enough to have large clients when I started an agency in Atlanta. Uh, had a background in printing, marketing, those sort of things, and then we had our own agency. We did the introduction of Diet Coke, and was in that. That's 1984. Um, from Coca-Cola, we expanded to Kellogg. Kellogg. A lot of the folks that worked at Coca-Cola got jobs in other areas of consumer packaged goods, and so ultimately wound up with a deep footprint in Coca-Cola, Kellogg, and M&M Mars, three Fortune 500 companies uh, who, fortunately for a guy in the agency business, had very deep pockets and very expansive. We became very skilled in partnerships. Coca-Cola taught us partnerships a long time ago. Coca-Cola, of course, is involved in the Olympics. Anything that sells their products, they're involved in Major League Baseball. They're involved in all those sort of things. So we learned our skills in brand marketing and integrated marketing from Coca-Cola. But as our clients moved into other areas like M&M Mars, Kellogg Company, so ultimately we wound up in soda pop, branded soft drinks. We had Kellogg and their numerous brands. We had candy with M&M Mars and Snickers. So to stay focused on what we did, we were a complete agency. We designed the cereal boxes for Kellogg's. We found major partnerships for those, and I'll just read off a few of them. For clients, we had Kellogg, Coca-Cola, M&M Mars, Edie's Ice Cream, that featured Jeff Gordon after a partial career in NASCAR. Found out that uh, Edie's wanted to introduce a new ice cream east of the Mississippi. It was their I think it was called Rocky Ridge or something like that, or whatever was the flavor. But they needed someone to bring it from the West Coast to the East Coast. So we did a little program with Jeff Gordon, who was under contract with my firm, and he had eaten Rocky Road, and so he had eaten that ice cream as a kid, and so we did a billboard campaign. He didn't say anything, he didn't do anything, he just had a bowl and spooned up. And of course, his career as a NASCAR driver spread all across the Southeast. The rest is history. So Edie's Ice Cream is east of the Mississippi because of a billboard campaign with Jeff Gordon. Just some lucky things that go along. ConAgra was a client, Denny's was a client, Valvoline, Sara Lee, Tom's Foods, Holly Farms Chicken. We introduced oven roast chicken at Holly Farms up in North Wilkesboro. I met a group of people at a NASCAR race, and Holly Farms is headquartered in up in North Carolina, in North Williamsburg, North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Was their home, and Lowe's also was a firm that was there. Chick-fil-A, National Rifle Association, Xbox, and Nopi. So quite a career in those things. So what made our success in marketing? We knew Coca-Cola. When I went to Kellogg asked, they said, you can be an agency of record. A friend from Coca-Cola had gone there to work, and he could bring one agency in. He brought our agency in, and what Kellogg wanted to know was, what does Coca-Cola do that we don't do in moving our area? Well, one thing between the two, they're both consumer packaged goods. You can't go in a grocery store without having Coca-Cola, Kellogg, M&M, Mars, a lot of the other clients that I just mentioned. But the big deal is Coca-Cola had store-door delivery. Their drivers were in their clients every day. Kellogg worked through distribution centers. So how do we create energy utilizing our skills to get more people to eat cereal? So the program that I presented was the question that was posed by the chief marketing officer for the Kellogg company, Carlos Gutierrez, who later on became president of Kellogg. And even after that, he was Secretary of Commerce for Ronald Reagan at one time. So Carlos was a friend, and he said, Tim, he was a Cuban fellow, and he said, what do Southerners do that are loyal to that we can sell more cereal? And so I had a proposal, and the proposal was for college football. He said, oh no, we tried that before. He said, we don't like it. So if you're a good agency person, you always have two good things that you can sell. And of course, selling college football, very difficult for you to advertise Alabama versus Auburn or UCLA versus Southern Cal if you're not in California and you're not in Alabama, where those things are pretty prevalent. So my creative director and I presented NASCAR. We had friends in NASCAR. So long story short, we made a presentation, and we ran NASCAR for 15 years. Kellogg first started, we started with a very small team. We ran 3 races to test the program. Then we went from testing into a full year of racing the next year. We had drivers such as David Pierce's son, Larry Pearson, early on. We morphed into Terry Labonte driving for Rick Hendricks. And so I had a partnership with Rick Hendricks and Hendrick Motorsports for 13, 14, 15 years. We won a Winston Cup championship in 1996 with Terry Labonte. We had Jeff Gordon under contract, and he had just moved over from the Baby Ruth team running in the Busch Series in those days to Winston Cup. And so we were able to pick him up. My PR director was intelligent enough to know that Jeff was doing that. We signed him up, and he became a spokesperson for us. So we took those images and to tie marketing to sport marketing. If you take a celebrity and you take a cereal box and you think about the fact that each time you run a cereal box, it's from 30 to 80 million cereal boxes, and you take the impressions of that driver and put them on the box, you've added value to your product. Yep, it's cereal. It's rice, corn, bran, oats, commodity. So is Coca-Cola. It's just sugar and water and syrup and those sort of things. Candy bars are those sort of things. So you're selling commodities in those areas, but when you add value to them, then your consumer, you start to differentiate your brand from the brand that you're competing with. In this case, you're talking cereal. So you've got General Mills, you've got Post, you've got all those other cereals that we've all had as we're children and whatever else. So how do you differentiate those things? And so Our idea was putting athletes and concepts on cereal boxes to change out. Rest is history. We did that for 15 years, and we won numerous awards, but more importantly, we fed everyone in our agency because we had plenty of money coming in from our large clients. And but to stretch it to the sport marketing end of the thing, now that's integrated marketing. So we bought a partnership with Hendrick Motorsports, with Jeff Gordon and Terry Labonte. We leveraged them onto our package, but also we expanded because, go back to the Coca-Cola story. Coca-Cola taught us how to entertain those clients, and you entertain them by taking them to the events that you publish and what you do. NASCAR consists of, in the early days, it was 32 races. It morphed into 36 races. So we did all the hospitality. We bought all the tickets to the races. We distributed each of those tickets and race activity to Kellogg's customer. Kellogg's sitting at Battle Creek, they don't know half of the people that they're dealing with out there. It may be the grocery chain of Publix in Alabama. It may be Myers in Michigan. It could be Safeway on the West Coast, but still there were races in all those areas. If you take the geographics of NASCAR and you start with the typical ones that we know, Talladega, Atlanta, those sort of things, Charlotte, whatever, then you think about the fact that they're in Fontana. They're running in the wine country up at Sonoma when they do. They're in New York at Watkins Glen. So it's today it's reminiscent of, as I sit here at Jacksonville State, it's reminiscent of moving to Conference USA, because we've expanded our footprint by being in all those places and having visibility, and then tying back. As we tied with the food chain, which is already in the marketplace, we gave them displays. We would bring Terry Labonte and his car and Jeff Gordon in their car. They'd do store appearances. They would do everything in the world. And then a lot of times when we had Jeff at Charlotte Motor Speedway, we'd have as many as 2,000 customers there. So they got pit passes. They got to see, go in and pet in the airplane. In the Air Force, I called it pet the bird. We would bring the generals in and let them go out and touch an airplane. Okay, and they thought that was a big deal if you're a non-pilot. If you bring that buyer from Kroger in, put them in and let them sit in the car and just hear that thing when it cranks up or whatever, all of a sudden you've got to sell the next time you go in. So you're leveraging the entity that you purchased to be able to move more cereal, more product, more. M&M Mars came on board. We had the M&M's car and ran it for years and years. We had separate teams that I had one team that dealt with M&M Mars. I had another team that dealt with cornflakes. But again, we were with those buyers constantly. We bought sweets. We entertained them to the nth degree. That's corporate entertainment. And that forms that relationship and partnership that you need to have a good working relationship, so that not if you have a problem, when you have a problem, you can solve it. And that's the way the world works. But NASCAR also, it works so well with leveraging those drivers. We did something like, I want to say 300 different cereal boxes portraying drivers. We had relationships with Dale Earnhardt, the real Dale Earnhardt, not Junior.
Yeah.
We had Jeff Gordon, Terry Labonte. We had Richard Petty. We had the Waldrop brothers.
Those are all very successful NASCAR drivers.
We had them all.
Yeah.
Everybody was clamoring. No one, Wheaties and other things were not signed up. Now, I'll move forward in a minute. This program worked well. So Kellogg says, okay, you become our sport. You know all about sports and you know about partnerships. So you go leverage these people. So I was able to take the Kellogg name and walk in any place in the United States, and I'm here representing Kellogg. One time I was negotiating with Rick Hendrick, and we were about to spend NASCAR in those days, for a full sponsorship of a car, and on the car, the sponsorship would read Frosted Flakes, Corn Flakes, back deck might have Pop-Tarts on it, might have these things. Originally, the car cost about $10 million a year. It was getting down to $15 million, and we weren't winning. This was 1992 and 93, but we were doing well. So I asked Rick Hendrick the question. I said, Rick, Kellogg wants to go faster. They want to win a race. He said, Tim, speed is money. How fast do you want to go? I love to quote that.
Wow.
Because speed is money. How fast do you want to go? Okay. And the Corn Flakes brand manager and the Frosted Flakes brand manager pooled their money, and we came up with the money and did the whole thing. But we were spending somewhere between $30 and $40 million a year just to leverage. If you buy a sponsorship, it costs X. If you want to have a successful sponsorship run, you need at least 3 to 10 times as much money as you paid for the sponsorship to execute a program that would market it.
Wow.
Thus, integrated marketing, from point of sale, from packaging, to tickets, to hospitality, to everything all the way. So in developing this model, and it wasn't my model, I'd love to say I was smart enough that I came up with all of that by myself. These are things that we learned from Coca-Cola over a period of years because they were the brand managers of the world. Anytime you deal with beverage, you're gonna have a better brand experience, whether it's beer or whether it's cola or waters or those sort of things. Beverages are always the front leading edge of marketing, and then you can couple on the back side and come with the other things. Along the way, Kellogg's asked us to bring them new ideas, and a couple of things that we brought after we started racing was the WNBA was just cranking up, and so go out to LA, we set up with the Galaxy and with other people. We started putting female athletes from the WNBA on board. Have a couple of really cool pictures with me at 5'9" standing next to a 7'2" Chinese girl who was one of the first people to and she played with the LA Galaxy from that standpoint. In our offices in Atlanta, we introduced also, I had lots of soccer players that worked for me that came from, most of them from the University of Central Florida. And the goal in this sports marketing was to capture young kids through soccer. At Coca-Cola, we had learned soccer because they dealt with FIFA and had done that for years. We ran a semi-program with them, but we started a program with grassroots soccer because grassroots soccer has to be done state by state by state. There's no governing body. As we're working on grassroots soccer, a little thing called Major League Soccer started to come aboard. So we actually housed in my agency in Atlanta, we had some of the first initial meetings of Major League Soccer. We dealt with two particular stars there. Carlos Valderrama, who had, if anyone's ever seen it, had hair out to here, okay? It was really cool. And Lexi Lawless.
Oh yeah.
And so Lexi and Carlos came in and we made our bobbleheads of both of them. It's really, really way cool stuff and everything. But Major League Soccer, we started with that. We ran it for years. We dealt with also the 92 and 96 Olympics. Christy Yamaguchi, we had her under contract. We had Nancy Kerrigan. We did boxes with all of them. They both won gold medals. Dan Jansen, who was a speed skater. Dan did not win his gold medal the first year in 92, but then he did come back and win the gold medal in 96. He had lost his sister and just a great guy. He was from Minneapolis area. But again, you're taking sport, coupling with brand, and then promoting the hell out of it and spending corporate money to push those things out so that your consumer is engaged with a particular entity that you've gone out to deal with. Bonnie Blair, speed skater, One of my favorites, and we were able to try this, which I would never do again now, not at my age, was we had sponsorship for the U.S. bobsled team. And one of our NASCAR drivers had produced, the Bodine brothers had produced bobsleds. They love speed so much from running NASCAR that they did bobsleds for the Olympics. So we promoted those little niches that you could go out and find out are very promotable items. What is your advantage versus your customer? What is your competitive edge from that standpoint? So one figure skater that we did not have, we could have had, but she got into a little bit of trouble. And we won't even go into her story or whatever in the world, but that was a funny one because we were negotiating with her when she just tried to break another girl's knee. And so, interesting stories. But, and I could go on and on. We not only used the sports marketing model for Olympics, Major League Soccer, and all the things that I've just talked about, but we also did it by leveraging those packages with NBC. Although it wasn't sports, it was integrated marketing. We won a national award when we tied 6 NBC programs with 6 of our major brands. We had Seinfeld, Saved by the Bell, Wings, trying to remember the other 2 at this point. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Those are all like hugely successful shows. Yeah.
And so we generated a program by using the same thing that we did in sports marketing. We used athletes. We used those stars. Those were new and up and coming programs that NBC was promoting. Blossom was another one. There were six shows that everybody would know today, and those sort of things. But we put them on cereal boxes and leveraged the same way. So that was kind of our modus operandi that we developed from sport marketing as to how to pull these things together. I think the most important thing is finding the right mix. Know your demographics of your target audience and who doesn't love sports, and find where your sports can match up. Now again, my story is sport marketing from the standpoint of doing it from a marketing standpoint. And we did win a Reggie, which is equivalent of an Emmy. In 1996, we won for our NASCAR program. It was a very prestigious award that we won in a national thing. We beat out all the other agencies and everything, but that was but it was easy to do. And because sport marketing was coming into its own, I brought 3 guys from Harvard MBA school to travel with me for about a month to tell me how far NASCAR was going to go. I thought NASCAR was going to peak in about 95, 96. The guys from Harvard extended it on into 2001. I sold my business in 97. I had a workout in 2001. I got out and it started to go downhill after that. And today, NASCAR's not as popular as it was. That was the glory days of those things. But we used all the analytics from Harvard Business School to be able to tell us how far our sport marketing is going. So here I've rattled on and on and on and on about these things, but you tie every bit of marketing that you have, everything. But everything's a little bit different. Sport marketing could be as simple as, selling tickets to a local game. We were very fortunate to be at the highest level. There were no sport marketing agencies in Atlanta. Their corporate had them, but there were no outside agencies. We were one of the first in Atlanta, and I was fortunate enough to sell my business later on. And that was back to Jacksonville State, Alabama. This is where I learned my undergraduate degree. I got an MBA. My business role that I wanted to have was to build a business and then sell it. I wasn't one of those that wanted to go do my business and work for someone else in the world. So that's my corporate story of working with the different. I'm see if there's anything else. I'll give you a list of the things that are important, the areas of expertise that you really need to do some of the things I've talked about. We talked about strategic promotional alliance. That's aligning with Kellogg, and then aligning with that entity that's going to be a good marketer for their client. Partnership development. If you buy these things, you've got to manage that partnership. It's like, what's the sports aspect of Jacksonville State? Do we use everything that Coca-Cola has to help promote our own sports? We promote our sports. Do we use their sports to help promote those things? You've got, so partnership development is there. Sodexo has, everybody has a partner, and they have all those tools, that arsenal out there. Contract negotiations. That could be part of your sport marketing outcome that you want, okay? Going and just negotiating. I failed to talk about my favorite one. Kellogg in '92, we were working on Olympics, and Kellogg says, we want the first dream team. So Kellogg gave me $500,000 and asked me to go get as many of the dream team as I can to sign up. So we signed Malone, Mullen, Robinson, Bird, David Robinson. And in fact, I still have all their jerseys we used for the photo shooter in my basement of my house. But we brought them together and we leveraged those. That was a big leverage job, and that was the year that we got tired of letting the Russians kick all of our college guys' butts, and so we went out and took our own guys, and the rest is history from that standpoint. So if you're asking me a question on a two-way conversation, you say, well, why didn't you get Magic? Magic had a PR issue because he had just had a press conference saying that he had come in contact with the AIDS virus.
That's right.
So in Battle Creek, Michigan, that would have been too much PR to overcome. Michael Jordan, why didn't you get him, Tim? Because he had been signed by Wheaties a long time ago, heavily under contract.
Just General Mills, so yeah.
And my favorite that I wanted to sign was the Grand Mound of Rebound.
Charles Barkley, yeah.
Barkley. And, but in Battle Creek, one of the executives stood up and said, no, he doesn't fit our culture. He's too much in your face. And I'm thinking, that's the cool part about him. Yeah. And Charles would have been a great deal involved. We had a shot also. I almost had under contract Shaquille O'Neal for $50,000, but my client said, we don't think he'll ever graduate from high school. And I went, who cares? Who is Charles? You got the best basketball player in the world. But anyway, it was fun. It was fun being able to negotiate those deals under the name of Kellogg and having that much in your back pocket when you went in, because we only paid one NASCAR driver, and that was Richard Petty the year he retired. The rest of the time we leveraged. We would say to Dale Earnhardt, Dale, you want to be on 60 million cereal boxes, and we're going to put your offer. If you want to sell your own t-shirts, your own Matchbox cars, those sort of things, we'll put them on a side panel. Because in a cereal box, you've got a front display, you got sides, you got back, you got all those things to sell your story. So we didn't pay any money for those. But on the dream team, the $500,000, Robinson got $250,000. Larry Bird got $75,000. Karl Malone got $75,000. Mullen got $50,000, and Stockton got $50,000. So you're saying, why did Larry Bird get so little?
Yeah, Larry Bird being Larry Bird. Yeah, how does that?
His back was hurt. He was almost retiring. I remember asking him at a photo shoot that we had down in Orlando, Florida. I said, we're sitting in the back of this limo. He did require that a limo pick him up from a hotel and bring him over, so you had to cater to whatever their needs were. And he said, you asked me why I never was on the show. He said, do you know that nobody ever asked me? He said, I would have paid you that much money to be on that cereal box. So there's a lot of ego involved in being on those things. Where Robinson was still playing.
Okay.
He was
Yeah.
still your star.
Yeah.
Chris Mullen was a recovering alcoholic and needed some PR help. We helped him a lot. Great guy to work with, fantastic guy. Carl Malone was a great guy to work with also. Stockton was a little bit peculiar. I think I've got a picture somewhere of Malone nooging his head because he didn't do right or whatever in the world. Kind of neat. That's kind of my story. You want me to? Is that enough story?
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So I wanted to transition to JSU. So what do you? So what's the difference in marketing? In the corporate world to where you come to JSU and market here, and then how is sports marketing different for a college versus what you were doing for professional?
In my mind, it doesn't differ. You use the same tactics. You're still using graphics, social media, integrated marketing, all these different things or whatever. Any type of marketing, always start first with a good product. Everybody has to have those consumer packaged goods that I talked about earlier. Everybody has to have education. So what's your brand of education? So you segment what you have. At Jacksonville State, we're good at nursing, but we're known for that, emergency management. Now, course that you're taking, sport marketing. I mean, we've had a lot of success with people coming in and taking those courses and things. So you have to segment who is that demographic group that you're going after. Oh, Dr. Overton, I've worked with him on several things, and we ran national digital media programs to get these things because your courses are all online. Are you taking yours online?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So we're totally online.
Yep.
That's very marketable.
Yep.
You're getting a degree. You can do it in X amount of time. It costs you this amount of money. So you define all the parameters of your product first. What are you literally selling, and then who you're selling it to, and then what do we utilize in our own organization? The web reports into our group, social media reports into our group, photography, graphic arts, licensing. We do a lot with licensing, and I didn't even mention before that we did the licensing for Kellogg. Kellogg had never done licensing, and I'd worked with it at Coca-Cola. So when we went there again to Carlos Gutierrez, he let me present licensing. So we had Tony the Tiger, Snap, Crackle, and Pop, Toucan Sam, Dig 'em, all those things. 100 years of Norman Rockwell art, and we were able to go out and license that and do those things. We did it for 10 years, and then we turned it back into the company because it became a big deal for them from that standpoint. But here at Jacksonville State, we have great products. We're not a flagship brand. We're not Alabama. We're not Auburn. We're not Georgia Tech. We're not University of Georgia. We're not UCLA. We're a regional university. So define your target area. Our target area is Chattanooga to Birmingham to Atlanta, a triangle. We'd love to say that we're way out there and we can go whatever, but we don't compete and we don't have the marketing dollars to be able to do. So know your budget. How much money do you have to spend? And then you try to narrowly focus on what are the tactics that I want to pursue to bring people in. Today it's social media. I don't run large advertising campaigns because we don't have the money to do that. We produce a couple of commercials each year. Right now with Conference USA, we have one highlighting the school. I don't know if you've watched any of their broadcasts.
I love that one. The one with it's the snapping or the clicking.
Yeah.
I love that commercial. I think it's fantastic.
I think we're as good as the other folks. I wish we could do 10 of them.
Yeah.
See, if you're at Kellogg, you got hundreds of commercials because you got such deep pockets and those sort of things. But that one's worked out real well.
Yeah, I think it represents the university really well.
And we're getting lots of earned media. Earned media is the media you don't pay for, that other people put you in the news or put you in those things because you've accomplished something. And the move to Conference USA has been very, very, very positive from the standpoint of I couldn't buy all the media that we've got. I mean, I'm getting like 80 Google alerts every day from Calgary to this, to this, to this. Every time you play Gamecock versus Gamecock. Can it get any better than that?
I know,
you can't write a script. You can't get that thing out there in the world. So lots of earned media from that standpoint. So we're able to use everything that we have, everything that we used with Coca-Cola, Kellogg, M&M Mars, any other client that I have. You're able to use the same thing with Jacksonville State. You just can't do it at the same scale that you're able to accomplish before.
Yeah. So I guess my final question, what advice would you have someone that, is wanting to go into the marketing world or sport marketing world, or, what type of advice, or how would you have them approach that?
I think everybody has to have a passion. My passion that came from Jacksonville State was marketing in general. I had some interesting professors that gave us some very bizarre things and said, now go to how do you market these things or whatever role. So we had the product knowledge, we had the other knowledge that we need. Where do you want to focus? I'd always loved the cereal, so my category was consumer packaged goods. I picked that out. I wanted to work in that area and work on those things. I was fortunate enough to do that. So today, if you're looking for a job in the area, you've got to think, one, what am I good at? What skills do I have? What type company do I want to work with? There's lots of agencies out there now that want to work. You can go internal to someone and be their partnership buyer. I think you have to really finite where is the area I want, and then somebody give you a chance. But have those good skills in the background. I mean, I would ask you the question, what's your undergraduate degree in?
Communications.
Communications. So you're ahead of me as to where I was, because communications, in my agency that I had in Atlanta, I was an old MBA. So I could run the business, but I didn't have the communication skills. I didn't have that degree. So find someone who needs those things. I hired more communications and journalism majors than I did marketing majors, because my clients were so big. They taught you marketing. Yeah. They taught me marketing. I mean, you're talking about the Mac Daddies of the whole thing. You got Coca-Cola, Kellogg, M&M Mars, I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. So then you have to bring those other skills together, and that's where the PR and communications and those sort of things comes on board. There's so many different affiliations with those. The unfortunate thing for us here at Jacksonville is we're not in a major city where there's lots of things going on, so you have to kind of look outside this geographical area to find something that you want to work in. And once you get started in it, you just compete against the other people. I mean, it's there's PR jobs. There's anyone. You can. As I said, we made lots of money just working on the ticketing for our clients, buying tickets, getting them out to their. It's kind of the sky's the limit, and a lot of people may go. I mean, what aspirations do you have? Where are you thinking? What are you looking out there?
Oh gosh.
Have you done an internship anywhere in this?
I did it with the athletic department here. So, so I worked with Greg Bonds,
Okay.
as assistant AD, and helped him with a lot of things that they were doing. They were working on a presentation for Conference USA, and he had to get a lot of that data and stuff like that together. So I kind of helped him with a little bit of that, and proofreading some of that material and things like that too.
Well, they do everything from a guide to I mean, the website. That's the big deal. Forcing that content out so people every day are seeing all the content. I think they outsource theirs to Sidearm, don't they?
I think you're right. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's the name of the company or whatever. But so many opportunities with it, and look in the big cities. That's where and the new expansion of Huntsville has the trash pandas.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Minor league baseball is a huge one now.
Yep.
And when you move to the minor leagues versus you wear many hats.
Yeah, and then in our area too, we have like the USFL, which just merged with the XFL. So who knows? Two-time champions, Stallions.
A sport city.
And we've got a soccer team. I think it's the Legion. I think we've got a. It's not MLS, but it's still growing.
Well, the first time that I brought Major League Soccer to our offices in Atlanta, I would never have thought that there would be a team in Atlanta with soccer
doing so well.
that was sold out at every, and
Yeah.
the Falcons couldn't sell out their program.
Yeah, I know. How does that make sense, right?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. I really
Is that
appreciate your
enough?
time. I think that's more than enough. Thank you. I'm going to end it here.